Okay, bear with me. This is going to be a tough one because I want to read my notes to Neon Genesis Evangelion, one of my fave animes with so many like good points and psychological aspects that really get you to thinking and that resonate. Yeah. So I think I started taking notes since episode 16. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna do episode 16 because if I do everything, it's gonna be too long. So there are many versions of ourself because they exist in others, you know? There's not just one version of you. With every person you know, that's a new version of you that they know of you, you know? So I think this was about Shinji. He was scared of being disliked. You can't just keep positive memories and pretend your life is only made up of good parts. That's deception. We all do it. We all want to escape. We shouldn't run away. We can't solely blame caregivers like our parents and stuff for if we don't feel so good and if we don't live a great life or whatever. Shinji made it out alive, so I think there was a situation. What kept him going is wanting to see everyone again. Oh, that was so sweet. Okay. Then goes on, feeling of not being wanted, useful to anyone. Example, his father just called him in to use him. Yeah, so like sometimes we want to be used, you know, because this was also, you know, one of the first stories in Naruto with Haku. That just struck to me because I think I could really relate. Yeah, so it's normal to be wanted and to be useful, to want to be useful to people so that you know your life matters, you know? Okay. So was Zoo confidence? I don't no zero. Oh, he had zero confidence. Not what is Zoo confidence? Okay. Works well on orders. Yeah. Doesn't know why he's even piloting this ever. Father isn't even watching. Hedgehog theory. Oh, I love this. Fear of getting rejected, and I'll let my cat in the way. Okay, so he wanted to, like the hedgehog theory is, you know, fear of getting rejected. Like hedgehogs wanting to come together. I think you also call it the porcupine theory. But as soon as they get too close, they start, you know, what do you call that? It's like you can feel the spikes peeking each other. No, stinging each other, and those are the parts of ourselves that we actually want to hide and we don't want people to see, and we fear that people will reject us due to it. Right, so he was being dishonest, weak, sneaky, coward, how he describes himself. That's how he describes himself. He wanted to carry on for others, but some lady got mad and said, do whatever you want. So he leaves, but decides not to board the train and says, Tadaima. She says, Okairi. Yeah. Okay, why did I say that? I don't know. Asuka is angry at Shinji because he always cares about what others think. Asuka is also a very interesting character, which we will get into in a different episode. Lights out, blackout. So humanity is scared of this darkness, so it claws at its edges. I think that was in episode 10. So yeah, my notes are all over the place. And are angels punishment for humans? Is humanity too sinful to be allowed to exist? Or is humanity permissible to live despite its sinfulness? Yeah, these deep questions, right? Shinji wants recognition from his father, but doesn't know why he's piloting an Eva, probably for father's approval. Asuka pilots Eva so people can see her talents, to be seen. Yeah, that's also another reason you want to. But it all boils down to be wanting to be seen, heard, understood. You know, people witnessing you as a being and proof that you're alive, you know. Ray in episode 14 has existential critical thoughts. Who are we? Are we made up made by God, or is man made by man? Right. Yeah, I think I'll end it here. Puppy? You're not a puppy. But I love to call you puppy. Oh, not like puppy. Like a puppy, like a dog. Baby, what's up? Spiral? Hi. Baby? You okay? Alright. I don't know what he's called. Okay, so continuing with episode 17 now. So the Evers infiltrated Shinji's psyche. Apparently, Shinji would never forgive his father if he knew what the Evers are. Something to do with his mom, maybe. Okay, so I already questioned it there, or they already said it. Maybe Shinji's mom was sacrificed by his dad. Yeah, that's exactly what happened to create this Eva. So Mr. Kaji, knowing about hurtful things just makes you more caring, and caring is not the same as weak. That's a beautiful message, because sometimes I felt as well too sensitive to whatever, and it was not serving me. Instead, it was like hurting me because I was always making myself vulnerable to others, letting them in and stuff, and just getting hurt and not getting any like reward for it. I mean, that's not why you do it, but still, you don't want to at least get hurt, you know? So we can never truly know someone, not even understand ourselves, but we still try, and that's what makes life interesting. Japanese characters for girlfriend mean distant woman. That's interesting, if that's true. I mean, they said it, so. Shinji would rather die than kill someone. Tobiji was maybe killed. Was that his name? Toichi? Yeah. By Shinji's father, who activated the autopilot. I can't read my writing. Tokichi, maybe? So Shinji and Ayanami talk, and Shinji asks what's wrong with running away from hurt and pain. That's a good question, Shinji. It's natural to do so, but yeah, it's not the answer. Shinji quits and never wants to see his dad again. Misato tells Shinji, you can't always please everyone, but he can't live like her. He can't switch that off, that side, that people pleaser side, I guess. Now, oh, by the way, that was episode 18, all of that. Episode 19, Shinji assertively says he will never pilot an Eva again. When an angel reaches Adam, the third impact happens and humanity would perish. So he had a talk with Mr. Kaji, and that changes Shinji's mind. Now, episode 20, Shinji has an epiphany, questioning why they're fighting these angels at all. Shinji apparently knew about the Evas and decided to run away because of it. He found out about it through his mom and dad. He's thinking of angels as enemies, but then pictures his dad. So his dad is his enemy? In his heart, maybe? Shinji's coma state, because Eva test is failing. He's in a coma state because he was failing this test, like testing the Eva. He talks to Ray about why people are kind to him or help him. It's because he pilots the Eva, basically because he's useful. He's piloting it to hear words of praise and appraisal, to feel like he matters. He sees all women in his life asking to become one with him. Okay, he has like some vision, which is okay. This is the part where it starts to get weird. But this, I wrote, this could allude to sex, primordial drive, or it could allude to just fusing into one person, meaning you're fully accepted by, like, for who you are. They're trying to get him back to life and ask, Don't you want to come back? He says, I don't know, so he wasn't sure. Shinji survives, possibly because Misato was calling out for him, and Shinji smelled his mother in that state. First, he thought it was other females like Ayanami or Misato. We saw an image of Shinji's parents worried about Shinji as a baby, loving to grow up in a world after the second impact. But his mom says, as long as we're alive, there are endless opportunities to turn Earth into a paradise. Right. And it's interesting because I think a lot of anime also like has these questions about whether humanity is too sinful to exist, like I said before, I think in the other part, and here these huge impacts, I think it's an allusion to the world wars, right, and what they did to humanity and the impacts and the consequences and all that stuff, which is something we have to keep on bearing in mind so none of this reoccurs and happens again. But it's just so humanity, I don't know what to say on humanity. It's a bit scary what humans are capable of, like, and it's not something we should ignore, like the dark side of the human psyche. Okay, I'm gonna try my best to fix my hair. No, okay, so episode 22 is where we're at in Neon Genesis Evangelion. So Misato is sleeping with Kaji, and he says we are our truest human form when we give in to carnal desires. There might be something like some truth to that. I also feel like we become our truest forms when we are in the flow state or when we follow our passions or something. Yeah, but I think that does border to what Kaji said. Is that even his name or is it kanji? Okay, anyways. So Asuka lost her mother to suicide and wants to prove she's an adult. Asuka hates everyone, especially herself. Can't connect to her ever and open her heart. Asuka's mom committed suicide and wanted Asuka to join her. She could have and almost did. Just don't stop being my mommy, she said in that moment. But decided not to be anyone's doll, so she didn't do it. She took on the stance of not needing anyone. She held onto Mr. Kaji for support, but he rejected her. I think she might be an avoidant, or this might like allude to the avoidant attachment style. Could be, because love was not something that was normal, and now she's not familiar with it and can't accept it from anyone. She saw parts of herself and couldn't believe that was her and rejected those parts of her. She just longed for someone to really like her, like actually like her. Asuka feels useless now that she can't pilot her Eva. She went completely depressed, not caring about anything. And now this is episode 23. Rei's deep needs were exposed in the Eva. She's lonely and wants to be one with Shinji, apparently, but she couldn't accept this fact. Really? Isn't Rei like the older one? Okay, anyways. So episode 24. Asuka wanted to be seen by her mom, was excited to be selected for Eva, but then she finds her dead, just wanting to please others. Asuka has no one left and feels useless, and so she has suicidation. Fifth kid, Kaworu, says, we're all lonely at the end of the day, but with connections we can make ourselves forget that. Man needs something to create anything. We can't create something from nothing. We're not God, right? So something already needs to exist for us to create something out of it. We can't just make something magically appear. But I beg to differ. I think you can, like, at least mentally, emotionally, I hope you can, because I think that's like a superpower if you can do that. You know, just the strive. Okay, it might come from somewhere, but anyways. So Ritsuko cried about Kari not wanting her anymore or entrusting anything big to her. Man's hope is linked with sorrow or aligned with sorrow. That's what Kaworu says. Only those that seek to live are worthy of it, yes. And also, only those who take the risks and are risky enough to want to live, they deserve to live, I guess, because living takes courage. And I'm not like, I'm saying this because I too had suicide, and and then I heard somewhere, if you have the courage to go that far, you should have even more so the courage to live or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's just something uplifting, okay? I'm not, like, my heart goes out to everybody who's lost anyone to suicide or who has dealt with suicide. Anyways, okay. Only one of the two could survive, Shinji's kind or Kaworu. Kaworu said Shinji deserves to live and Shinji's kind needs a future, like the humans. Kaworu was not a human. Yeah, so that was really heartbreaking as well. I think Shinji felt betrayed by Kaworu because he realized he was not human and he was like actually on the verge of trying to destroy humanity, but then changed his mind. I think because Shinji made him or something. Okay, continuation from last time of Neon Genesis Evangelion. One of my favorite animes. Okay, so Kaworu was an angel. He was not human. Only those with the will to live get to survive. Kaworu craved death, so he himself basically stated that he did not deserve to live. Shinji doesn't want to be hated. Shinji's inner journey. He wants to serve others, but only to serve himself. That he matters. Like, he wants to prove to himself that he matters. So basically, he has a daddy complex. Because his dad rejected everything about him, which is really horrible. I can't believe there are parents like that. But you know what? I think that just shows that those parents are actually just rejecting themselves because that child came from them. And maybe they're not comfortable with themselves and that, they have their own issues. So Asuka is similar, doesn't want to be alone. She has a mommy complex. Rei is who she is due to connections she makes with others. Without connections, there is no us. Yeah. So, like I said, or like the anime stated before, there are so many different versions of you, depending on how many people you know, because with everybody you're different, and through these relationships you find out new facets, new sides to yourself, and it brings out different sides, and that's how we get to know ourselves better as well. I love that, idea. So Misato escapes the truth that she isn't happy via cheap thrills and deep trauma with her dad. Searches for this love in other men like Kaji. Right. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, now I remember. Ray is the other one. Okay. Instrumentality project designed to fuse all hearts so there's no room for rejection and anxiety others bring in you. Right, so that was the whole entire premise and goal, to fuse every being together so that there's no chance of being rejected by one another because you're the one and the same thing. Basically annihilating humanity. Asuka was aware her stepmom could leave at any time. Yeah. That's not her real mom, her stepmom. Oh, yeah. Because her mom left her, like, herself. Like, when she got a stepmom, she just couldn't get too close, I guess, because she always knew she could leave her, right? So now episode 26. Oh, that was 25 before. Okay, I'll let my other cat in. Okay, both cats in now. So Shinji feels unwanted, scared of own weakness. We feel the void. We're trying to fill each other's gaps. That's why we feel lonely and want to become one. We're all lonely in the end. Yeah, that's something I always thought about. Like, I feel like at the end of the day we're all alone, which sounds really sad. Unless you have like a higher power watching over you. You know, if you believe in that, that's such a huge advantage. But yeah, like that's, I guess, that void, that loneliness, that fear of rejection, all that stuff is like a hole that we want to fill, and that's why we fill it by making connections and stuff like that. Yeah, and that's why we have this need to want to become one with people. You know, I think this is so deep. This could go even deeper. I feel like I had this other theory the other day, or like a couple weeks ago, which I will put in a different video, I think, about two glasses that you have inside your heart. Yeah, anyways. So, should we run away from pain? Running away is also painful. Running away will lead to abandonment. Yeah. So either way, you're gonna feel pain. So you might as well feel the pain and face it head on, you know? Shinji relies on approval from others. He thinks he's worthless. Shinji, Asuka, and Rei all feel they have nothing without piloting the Airbus. Shinji thinks everyone hates him because he hates himself. So, you know, how you feel about yourself is going to be reflected on how you think others see you. So the relationship you have with yourself is extremely important. Oh, he agrees. Confirmation from... Where are you? You can't see? Alright. Oh, you can't see him. Oh, okay, never mind. Shinji never did anything out of own desire initiative just to please others, right? Okay, so Shinji and the others feel worthless, yeah? We've been through that. Being you and what it means to be you are two different things, right? Yeah, I think just being is enough. I had this recently as well, this epiphany, but what it means to be you is different to being you. I have to let that one sink in. Your room, your things are all part of you. And then they have all these questions like, what am I? Who am I? Where am I? And all that stuff. Just as if they're like dissolving into not themselves, you know, into one whole thing. I don't know. That's how it felt. Shinji believes no one would understand him, and in the end, that's true. The only one who can is himself. And God. You know. World of nothingness equals to freedom, but it's empty. Restrictions limit you, but lowers anxiety. They limit you, but it lowers your anxiety. But you lose 1 degree of freedom, right? So you have to kind of choose between having those fears, but at the same time also that freedom of choosing how to live your life, who to be, who you want to be, all that stuff, or just having emptiness, you know? In this world, you're alone, but you can't make up your shape without comparing to others' shape. Of course, we always say don't compare to yourself to others, but without others, there is no you, you know? You need that contrast or that distinction, you know? It's not comparing, it's like being aware of being different, you know? Yeah. So other people make parts of you, your heart too. So your heart is like composed of other people as well as you, what you bring into it. they're showing the way their lives would be. The simplicity of it is so wholesome. Shinji sees there can be many versions of himself. Okay, so if there was no one, your life would be very simple, I guess. I think that's what it meant, if I remember correctly. And then he sees all these different versions of himself, how he could have been. I think this is also the anime that gave me the idea that I can really reinvent myself. Or maybe I did that after. Maybe I watched this after. So, interpreting the world can change the world. There are many truths, as many as there are people, right? So, like, we all have a different view on life and a different perspective. And that's what makes, like, there are various and many different worlds, even though we live in this one world, but because it's seen through so many different eyes, it can be so different, you know? If you hate yourself, you close yourself off to loving others and being kind to others. So it goes both ways. You need to be able to like yourself, and then you can open up yourself to others as well, you know? If you can't do it for yourself, at least do it for others, you know? Give them the opportunity to get to know you, to, you know, connect with you and stuff. Because you owe it to others as well, not just to yourself, you know what I mean? You can change that perception and understand you deserve to be here in this life. Yeah. So, I love this anime. Mwah, it's a masterpiece. Last part of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Okay, so I think this is the movie. And fun fact, I actually watched the movie first before the anime, and I was so confused. And then I watched YouTube analyses, and then I started to understand, and then I watched the anime. But I'm glad I watched it in many different ways, because this is something you need to, like, rewatch, I think, to really understand it. So this is the end of Evangelion. It's a 1.5 hour movie, and I call it episode 25, but I already had that. Oh no, maybe it's like in before the episode in 25 or after. Okay, so if all you care about is avoiding pain, just die. Oh my god. That's what it's basically saying, don't fear pain, okay? You don't have to fear pain because it's a part of life. But please don't die. Like, don't do that, no. Everybody has a value and can bring something to the world, you know? I really believe that. You hate yourself, that's why you hurt others. So, if you, like we said before, you need to really get familiar with yourself, love yourself, to be able to also care for others, you know? Shinji just wants to die. Misato gave him a pep talk. To get the truth, we need to endure it. Interesting. Okay, so not all truths are kind, nice, but we need to be able to endure everything to get to it. We are self-absorbed. No one wants me, so all should die. These are just thoughts from the anime, okay? We don't need to be abandoned, right? So just because nobody wants you doesn't mean that this whole life should end. You know what I mean? It's not the worst thing to be rejected. I mean, I know this is all that humans want, like the healthy ones. But this is why a relationship to a higher power is really important, okay? Life could be better without me too. So I'm just writing thoughts that I think Shinji had. If I'm here or not, it makes no difference, so I should die too. Yeah, I think I wrote these down because these thoughts of Shinji really resonated with me. Not resonated, but I could identify myself with them for some time. I don't know who couldn't. I think that most self-aware people have these thoughts maybe, so it's completely normal. The last image they see before dying is the person they longed for. Oh, this is so cute. Ikari also didn't feel worthy of love, so he didn't want to live with Shinji. He didn't believe he could be loved nor love. He put walls around his heart. If it hurts, run away. If you don't like it, give up. Peace, relief when all are fused together. Yeah, so this is the whole idea. If we just, like, you can't just keep running away from negative emotions and negative things in life. And, like, sure, fusing everyone together would annihilate that, but it would annihilate all the good as well. That free will that people chose voluntarily to be with you or to speak to you or befriend you or, like, be in love with you or whatever, you know? So all of this is so important. You can't have the good without the bad. You need to have the risk of being vulnerable to get to the goodness of life and connections. Avoiding reality by having a fictional world, that's not where the truth lies. Dreams are beyond reality. Reality comes after the dream. Okay, I have to think about this. Dreams are beyond reality, yes, and reality comes after the dream, so it's like an inception sort of thing. So maybe from your dreams you can create reality. You know, the dream world is something we can keep and it can become real. Maybe that's what it's trying to say. So a world without AT fields, we don't know where one person starts and another ends. Yeah, so if everybody, fused, you don't know where one person starts and another ends. If you bring back the walls between people, fear will also come back. Yes, like I said, all the negative emotions. Running away didn't help because then I'd begun to hope for understanding and love. Yeah, so we need to keep on having hope for understanding and love between humans. Even with the threat of being abandoned, just the chance for genuine connections is so worth it, right? Just that, is worth the risk. Reclaim yourself through own efforts, despite words from self or others. Yeah, you can always try your best and ignore the noise of negativity around you, even from yourself. If you can imagine your human form, you can get it back. Right, so they were like all fused, and you just need to be able to pick yourself back up when shit hits the fan, when things get ugly in life, and as long as you can still imagine your human form, and I think this is very metaphorical, if you can still imagine your purity, the goodness inside you, then you can get it back. We still don't know where happiness lies. So Asuka and Shinji remain in the end. Rei was imagined by Shinji, and life on Earth can be re-established, right? So, like in the end, you only have Shinji and Asuka, and I think Rei was that huge monster destroying everything, or something. Shinji imagined strangling Asuka, and now he's doing it for real, probably out of fear of getting rejected, right? Then his tears fall on her. He cries, she calls him disgusting. And I thought this was maybe because he jerked to her in the hospital when she was unconscious and he was trying to get her to wake up and he accidentally exposed her breasts. And yeah, and he himself felt himself like he was disgusted by himself. And I thought this scene was very interesting because it shows how carnal, how animalistic we can be, and it's a part of us humans, and I don't think it's something we should be ashamed of. Of course, this was not the appropriate time, because she was like unconscious there, and maybe she was aware of it, maybe not, but it could also have been a coping mechanism because he was overwhelmed by the destruction of the world. And I also think that like our animalistic desires or drives are sometimes intertwined between like different things. Like it doesn't necessarily mean it was only his sexual drive that made him do that, but it could have also been his need for empathy, care, tenderness that he needed in that moment. You know what I mean? Because, for example, I remember when our dog was young, she would like hump our legs, and it could have just been out of a sexual drive, but I think it's also maybe because she confused love just with that, you know, sexual drive. Do you understand like what I mean? It's very interesting. It's hard to explain, but you know what I mean. It's hard. Like for her, it was just like expressing her love for humans, you know, for us, and she didn't think anything of it. You know what I mean? It's not like she wanted to. I don't know, or it could just be an animalistic. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but I thought that was interesting. So it could have either been that's why she called him disgusting, while she was in a coma and he treated her, or because she generally rejects him. And this shows we have the liberty and opportunity to love one another, but that includes the potential of rejection. So, and also maybe he wanted to strangle her because he felt ashamed of what he did in the hospital, and he didn't want her to and he didn't want her to remember that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it. I did it.